Hey magicians, I'm Aubrey,
And I'm Peyton.
and today we are reviewing the highly anticipated R.F. Kuang's newest romantasy, Katabasis.
Yes, so just with a cup of coffee as we dive between these paper sheets.
Let's do this.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Hardcover Podcast. We have such an anticipated review. Like, this is a book in January. We were like, we cannot wait. And I can't believe the year's flown by this fast. We were finally, the fact that we even have this in our hands, but that I've read it. And
Yes.
so I am so excited to jump into today's ep.
I actually was looking at it. I made my vision board, like manifestation board for 2025. This book is on it. It's one of two books that is on my vision board, and it is just the black cover because we hadn't even had the cover announcement when I put this book on my vision board. So, like, we've been ready. Okay. And so, you've probably heard this 1,000 times, but Katabasis follows two grad students who are magicians who, after the death of their professor, decide that the only natural thing to do is to descend into hell to bring him back in order to get job recommendation letters.
As any good academic does.
Yes, as any academic does. And my favorite thing about this book is that we start in chapter 1, jumping into this pentagram and going straight to hell. Okay, we do
Yes.
not waste time with unneeded exposition. She is drawing her pentagram. Peter, the other main character, shows up and they go to hell, baby.
I love that. I was like, yes, because if anyone follows RF Kwong on social media, she posted a book trailer, and I was like, girl, you were giving away too much. Well, the fact that it's the first chapter, that was perfect.
Oh, and the book trailer, if you haven't watched it yet, you should because I think it also enhanced my reading
Yes, because I
experience because I
imagined
can
them.
picture them. Yes, so clearly. Even though then, like, the description she was giving for Peter did not match up with the Peter in the book trailer. And I was like, I'm erasing this. Peter's a blonde man in my head now. Like,
Yeah,
it's a blonde love interest.
I thought he had long blonde hair. I was like, huh?
Jumping into this, I think the only thing that we can say right away is we need to clear up these textbook allegations. So, if you are not chronically online, then perhaps you don't know any of this, but this is a fantasy dark academia, and we're going to say heavy on the dark academia. Now, when ARCs started being given out for this book, and I'm so sad that I did not get one, I did not try to sign up for one. I just was
Yeah.
hoping magically it would show up on my doorstep, and it didn't. But the people who did sign up for these arcs are kind of questionable. I don't know why this certain crowd of people signed up for these arcs
Right.
knowing what the book is, but they were like, this reads like a textbook. This is super boring. Creators were also making this like long list of like pre-reading that you needed to do that was basically mentioning all of R.F. Kuang's inspirations for writing the book. So like the biggest one would be like Dante's
Dante's
Inferno
Inferno.
because
Gotcha.
that's
Yeah.
referenced throughout the book.
Yeah.
I need to be so clear, and I know R.F. Kuang has now had to go on to be so clear. You do not need to do any pre-reading. That
No.
was like a fun little TikTok people were making. Some people were like, "Oh, this is a good opportunity to jump into some of these classics and
Yeah.
experience them." You don't need it. Like as long as you know that Dante's Inferno is the story of someone going through hell.
Yeah, I really feel like in this book, having a understanding of like if someone says Dante's Inferno, what that means. But that's a very simple Google search. And I just feel like as someone who I love dark academia vibes, but
Yeah.
usually when I end up reading very dark academia, I'm kind of like bored. I don't feel like this didn't feel like school to me.
No, no. And actually, I will say the only credit I will give to these textbook allegations people, and if you want to compare it to a textbook in a like a hee hee ha ha, it's dark academia way, that's fine. But unfortunately, what their videos were is largely negative, and they were turning off readers because they thought it was going to be a boring book. And it's just not. It's very fast paced.
It's fast paced, it's exciting, there's a lot of plot. But it is academic, like, I'm not it's dark academia, like, there are moments where I'm like, "I am too dumb to be reading this book," like, there were definitely those moments, so I don't wanna say, like, this is just, like, such a fun book to read, and it's so easy. No, this is probably, for me, one of the most difficult reads of the year as far as, like, okay, but R.F. Kuang has this way, and I'm sure we'll get into later, of mixing this highbrow academic verbiage with comedy. And there's something beautiful about the blending of those 2 that make it accessible. And I think you don't have to be this, like, stellar student that's like, "All I do is read dark academia, like, this is who I am." It's like, "No, like, this book is for anyone."
Yeah, it truly is, and if you read Babel by R.F. Kuang, that book is not for everyone, okay?
Yeah.
That book was a struggle. That book took me a month and a half to read as my only read, like, it was my primary focus. I've given it to other people and I've been like, "Be warned, it is a struggle of a book," and they've DNF'd it. That book is hard to get into because it's a very slow-moving story, because you're really just sitting and sinking into the narrative. I feel like this book has got so much entertainment factors that is what makes it more palatable, I guess, for, like, the masses. Like, I don't think the Babel was not made for the masses. I think katabasis can be for the masses.
Yeah.
It does have, like, intricate prose, which to me was a bonus.
Yeah.
And the only other thing I'll say is I saw a really good TikTok on this where it was like most dark academia books, even dating back to like The Secret History, which is considered like the grandfather, right? Dark academia is the setting, dark academia is the vibe. But then the story and subject matter of the book is usually something different. Like, I'm pretty sure Secret History is like about a murder or something like that. I don't know. I haven't read it. But, or Immortal Dark is a dark academia I recommend, but the subject matter was like vampires, okay?
Right, yeah, it's the
You
setting
know,
you're in, yeah.
whereas Katabasis, the setting is dark academia and hell, and the subject matter is dark academia. It is about academics. This book is infused from page 1 to page 541 about academics and research and study, but also, like, it's 2 people clearly in love with each other going through hell.
Yes, and it's like, how do I s yeah, and there's just so many complexities to this book, as you can see the
Yeah.
front cover, it's how I felt, I'm like, "Wow, this book has taken so many turns," like, like, almost, like, deconstructing, like, their academics, but, like, through that, we're deconstructing these individuals and how they've dedicated their life to one thing, but actually maybe that's not a good thing, like they were told it was, and oh my gosh, it's great, and it's a love story.
Yes, and it's an incredibly intelligent book, which I think some of us need. I think some of
Yes.
you need to read an incredibly intelligent book because, yes, we have our kiki haha. I mean, the last book we reviewed on the podcast before this was Warrior
Yeah.
Princess Assassin.
We
So,
are
like,
balanced. Okay, we are balanced here.
we need both, but, like, I think some of you guys need this intelligent read. Final thing on this is that when you're in the beginning chapters, there's these like essays on the world building that quickly go back to the character. Like, it spends the first page maybe pretending to be academic, historical, like essay, and then immediately shifts back into character. And I think if you're seeing those, I don't know why she put them at the beginning, because I think that is the biggest like example of the textbook narrative. Let me see if
Yeah.
I can find them.
The thing about adding those in the beginning of chapters is I will skip them. Like,
You
I will
skipped them?
No, no, I
Okay.
didn't skip them, but I think having them there, especially in that, like, thickness, it's like, "Alright, like, whatever, I just wanna get back to the characters."
Yeah, and so there's, like, 2 or 3 of these sections where it's, like, on something, and then it's switched to italics, and it's like an essay, but also very quickly, like, by the time you turn the page, you're back to Alice, you're back to the main character, and I think there's something interesting going on there, but I do see that if you, like, the first one happens on page 17, okay? So, if you got to page 17, saw that, and DNF'd the book, I understand the textbook allegations, and so I just wanna
Yeah.
warn anyone who might be listening to this before actually diving into the whole book, there's only, like, 2 or 3 of those, and I think if you give it a chance, it is kind of entertaining.
And also, you just get used to the verbiage, and you end up having fun with it.
Okay, let's jump into the world building here a bit because R.F. Kuang did something that I really loved is and if you guys haven't seen any of the videos of her talking about this at, like, book events since its release, like, I think you should. She is
Yes.
so incredibly well-spoken and articulate and intelligent, and part of the world building of the hell that we see is she didn't just choose one reference, one cultural perspective and stick to it. She did a smorgasbord of everything. So we have like
Yes.
the Greeks, the Chinese, to Dante Inferno, which is like the Christian one. Like it's got everything in it in a way that I really appreciated. And you never knew what was coming next because she could draw from literally anything.
Yeah, I love that, and she would, like, list them off, and it's kind of like hell shapes to the person, and,
Yes.
like, who Satan is to you is based on what you believe in, and, like, obviously, that's huge for Alice in this book, and I was just like, "Wait, this is so cool," because this became, like, academic for me because I didn't know about a lot of this, and I was like, "Wait,
Yeah.
that's really cool," and, like, how Satan is represented in different cultures. I was like, "This is" my media and culture degree was coming out. "Wait, this is so interesting to me." I was sad because I thought she was just making up names, and then I was like, "Wait, hold on." Obviously, Alice being of her ethnicity, and then Peter having his own,
Yeah.
and, like, how they both saw hell in their own lens. I was like, "This is so interesting."
Well, and I think it would have been so interesting to like if we had been in someone else's head going through hell, it would have looked very different. And spoiler alert, I mean it's on the back of the book and it's very in the beginning. Hell is a campus.
Yes.
So because we are following two grad students who have dedicated their lives to academics and they're chasing down their professor who also has dedicated his life to academics, they are interpreting all of the layers of hell as like campus buildings and then that like kind of deteriorates as we go through. But literally I think they get past like the front gates and all of a sudden there's cobblestone streets
Yeah.
and like school buildings and admission and like one of the things I think like pride is a library or something like that. And it's
Yeah.
so cool to see it like she was able to carry dark academia through the setting of hell by making it tailored to people, and I was trying to think of what my hell would look like, and I literally think it would be like a dungeon. I think it would be a fantasy dungeon, and I think there would be, like, dragons and fairies, but, like, the most, like, evil kind, and I think I
It's
would
scary.
get stuck and never cross.
Girl, I'd still be on the field up at the top. I'd be like, I'm not leaving. In the beginning, like this first chapter, she meets people. They're like, "We're not going. Like, we're gonna stay right here all together." Cause
Yeah. Yeah,
you
the
know,
fields of asphodel or however it's pronounced. That's something from Greek, kind of like your waiting room. So, also bringing in our magic and fun fantasy of all of this is that our main characters are magicians and the way their magic system works is it's a magic system of paradoxes, which is so incredibly like it's interesting. You can just see R.F. Kuang's like real life influences on this because her husband is like a theoretical professor. She threw these like they called them paradox parties where all of these like high up professors, like if you didn't know, R.F. Kuang has got like her master's, her doctorate, like she's like
yeah.
deeply enriched in academia. Obviously, her husband is like a professor or something. And so they threw these parties so that way all these different academics could present to her their favorite paradoxes. And then she turned that into a magic system.
Imagine being like, "Wait, that was in my presentation."
Can you imagine if you read the book and none of your presented
Like,
paradoxes got included? I would be like, oh, oh,
I see.
hmm.
I always felt like she was writing also, like, knowing that the people that are reading this are going to be dumb.
Yeah.
'Cause she would say something funny, like, she would dumb like, a character would be like, "Oh, blah, blah, blah," and I'd be like, "Yeah, I was thinking that too." I was like, "Thank you." My favorite thing about this magic system, the use of chalk and the
Mm-hmm.
importance of chalk in this book, and, like, Alice has her favorite brand, and Peter has his favorite brand, and, like, I just feel like in these in these worlds, these academic worlds, we all have our like, well, I use a Ticonderoga number 5
Yes.
pencil and like, well, I use a lead number 2. Like, what are you talking? Like, I've been there where like in college you're like, ew, you use that kind of pen? Like,
Oh, or the laptop. Oh my gosh. My first year in college, we're arts and humanities students. I had like a HP computer and I was like, I need a Mac. I
yeah, I
need
was
a
like,
Mac.
Aubrey, you need a Mac. Like, this is not gonna work out. No, that was like my like favorite part. I was like, oh, and then they meet other academics and they're like, what's this chalk? Like, this is not good chalk. Or
Yes.
I loved it. And it also made it feel one academic, the fact that they only use chalkboards, but also set like the setting of like the time
Mhm.
and period of like, we're in like Cambridge and we use
Yes.
chalk. Like it made it feel so vibey.
There's, a funny video of Rebecca saying that she likes to write period pieces, and her editor got mad at her for calling the '80s a period piece. I'm like, "Yeah, you know what? I mean, the '80s is 45 years ago, like."
Yeah, so yeah, well, and we don't use chalk anymore, really, so
Peyton and I are at the interesting age. When I first started school, there was
it
chalkboards,
was
like,
all
it was
chalk
chalkboards, and then we watched it switch from chalkboards to whiteboards to
to
just
Prometheus.
computer screens, like
Yeah, Prometheus,
projectors.
yeah. Like interactive, like,
Yeah, to the smart
I
boards.
remember them wheeling in, like, a little projector thing where you put the paper on and it would
Yeah.
project on the wall, and I was like, "This is the coolest thing ever," and then next year, I'm like, "Wait, huh? We can, like, touch the board with a pen and it's electronic?" No, it's crazy being where we are in our generation, whereas, yeah, the '80s, just chalkboards. My sensory problems could never do chalk, but I want
No.
in a perfect world, I have my own favorite brand. But yes.
A sensory devoid chalk, a less chalky chalk.
Yes.
The only other thing I wanna talk about before we jump into our star ratings in the spoiler section is that I do believe there is a decent amount of trigger warnings to give for this book. We have suicidal thoughts and tendencies. We have a lot to do with abusive power dynamics that I'm very excited to talk about and
Yeah.
dive into in the spoiler section. But there is that. There is also, like, a decent amount of, like, body dysphoria that was actually triggering me. I had to put the book down a few times because of my OCD, where, like, she would describe the body in such ways that I was like, "Oh, I'm feeling out of my skin now." There was also a very violent scene at the end that we will talk about in the spoiler section that I had to skip. Okay? So just be careful. Oh, I'll tell you. I'll tell you and you'll know, and you'll be like, "Yeah, you did have to skip that."
Oh,
But
yeah, okay.
I think everything is done very considerately well
Oh.
done.
Yeah, there was a couple things at the end there, I'm like, "What?"
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and also, like, chronic disease and, like,
Yes.
at least representation, right? She did that very well. But, yeah, absolutely. There's these characters, there's a lot.
We're getting into a lot in this
Yeah.
book, actually. Okay, so Peyton, what did you give Katabasis?
So, I like to rank things, especially within the genre. We love talking
Mhm.
about this. And I during this with, like, the paradoxes and stuff, I was thinking a lot about, like, Olivia Blake's, like, The Atlas Paradox, and I was thinking about all these dark guys, this is a five-star academia read. It just is. It doesn't matter if I'm like, "This is my new favorite book," or, like, "I enjoyed every second." I was able to read this book within a week, okay? The last stint of me reading this was from 12 to 2 AM, and I think that says a lot. Cause Dark Academia, I'm out, like, I'm falling asleep within 20 minutes of reading it. But the fact that I was so just, like, locked in, even if there's things in this book that went way over my head, it was an enjoyable experience from start to finish, and I think a lot of times with dark academia and authors wanting to just write this, like, highbrow academic book, they lose me because like,
Yeah.
we're not doctors, like, we are just readers, educated more educated than most, but at the end of the day, like, don't lose me, girl. And Rebecca just didn't. And I think it deserves 5 stars.
I agree. I gave it 5 stars. I loved so much about this book. I think It was so entertaining. The only thing I didn't love is that I really just wanted to be hitting very hard every layer and court of hell, and we skimmed through some of
The
them
last half
where
we did.
I wanted to linear progression
That's what I
straight
thought was
through
gonna
hell.
happen. Yeah.
And that's not what happened, but I still think the story took very well done, interesting turns. I was always entertained. I loved the dynamics of the characters. I mean, I loved Alice. I love a character that is like so gun ho driven that like they are making horrible life decisions. That I eat that up every time. I think I also probably was a key audience for this book as someone who really enjoys dark academia, magic, the vintage aesthetic, who's read R.F. Kuang's significantly harder to read book Babel, like, and that was
Mhm.
my first R.F. Kuang. So like I kept going.
Mhm.
And I will say, as someone who struggles with depression and OCD, I felt very represented in this book to the point where I'm not someone who annotates. I do not like annotating. I think it interrupts the process of reading. I just want to sit with my book and enjoy. But sometimes I'll see a quote and I'll be like, oh, that was just so good. And I'll want to save it. And if you're reading on your Kindle, like then I'll highlight quotes
It's
because
so
it's
easy.
easy.
Yeah.
But I don't ever want to have to stop and pick up a pen. Okay. My handwriting also sucks. So if I tried to do that, like it would turn out ugly and then I'd get mad at myself. But this book, my camera roll looks insane. It is just full of pictures. I counted it. It was like at 20 plus at one point, and I had to go through and like trim some of the fat. I was like, we don't need all of these. So like to the point where I have some quotes, I was like, you can only pick 3 quotes to share on the podcast. Like we're not, no one wants to listen to you read quotes.
Yeah.
But I went out and I bought annotating tabs because I was like, I need to annotate this book. I need to like cherish and relish in these quotes that I love. And I got them and I was so excited to do it. And then I remembered that it's got this pretty sprayed edge. And I was like, I don't want to ruin the art. So I don't know what I'm doing because
Are
I
you
need
gonna
to delete
display
these
it
photos.
edges out, or are you gonna display the spine?
Well, I'm going to probably display the spine, but I don't want to ruin the picture. And then I was like, "You could go up
The
top," but I was
top.
like, "Oh, but the top's really pretty too."
Oh my
And I was like, "Oh,
god.
you could go to the bottom." I was like, "Oh, well, the bottom's pretty too." So
Yeah,
I might
it's
actually
way
end
better.
up after buying annotating tabs, I might still get a marker and a roller and go back and like underline the quotes that I liked because now I've already like it's not going to interrupt the process of reading. I finished the book. You know what I
Right.
mean? It's just
Exactly.
like doing it so that way, if anyone else reads my copy, they know that that was important to me.
When it comes out in, paperback, just get a paperback, and
Yeah.
because nothing's
I did
sexier than an
consider
annotated
buying the
paperback.
non-deluxe edition, the one with just the white edges without the sprayed edges, specifically to tab.
Oh, do they have, like, just a
Yeah,
normal
yeah, they
one?
have like a boring edition because this is only like the first
Dang.
however many copies. It's just like the first run.
Alrighty, welcome to the spoiler section. Let's just jump in. Alright, we start off the book, I know that these 2 students wanna go and rescue their professor.
Hmm.
What we did not know is that Alice killed him.
She murdered him, and that is why they feel the need. Like, I love that. I thought it was such a good like hook tagline promo blurb to be like 2 undergrads descending through hell to save their beloved professor because they need job application resume, like, and then immediately it's like, well, we're kind of here because I killed him and I feel a little guilty about that.
Yeah, and then you just as you descend into the layers of hell, you descend actually into the character's madness of what their plans actually are with their professor. Yeah,
Yeah,
so Alice is feeling a little guilty,
guilty.
and wants to go and rescue.
Yeah, Professor Grimes. I loved the fact that this book was like you'd get what they're doing in hell and then you'd get a little bit of backstory.
I loved that.
And I loved that
Loved.
it was sandwiched in the same chapters instead of like a lot of hell and then a lot of backstory. Like this was formatted exactly how I wanted it to be.
Yes.
And Let's talk about the Peter's if Alice spell. Okay. So when we got to that, I realized it's like in the art. It's very big on the
Yep.
back of the book,
So
like
yep.
if
I
Alice.
was studying this art before even reading the book because, I mean, even without the book jacket on, this book is beautiful, literally inside out. Um, I loved it. I kept the jacket off the whole time because, like, this is so
Oh
freaking cool.
yeah.
And then the inside art is so cool, and I was, like, looking at all their equations and, like, the different when we go to different layers of hell, I'd flip to the front to be like, "Alright, where are we?" And blah, blah, blah. So, anyways, I saw the if Alice. I'm like, "Huh?" And then we got to it. I was like, "You know what, girl? If that was me, I'd have the same reaction."
I no, I would be waking him up. I would be waking him up in that
Yeah.
moment, and I'd be like, "Listen, Peter, you were planning on killing me." I would be so mad, and obviously that would ruin the tension of the novel.
Right.
Because as readers, we're like, "Okay, but this is supposed to be a romantasy."
And Peter's like,
Like
"Why are you mad at me? What did I do?" It's like my
he
husband. He's like, "What, are you mad at me? Like, did I do something?" It's like, "You're existing."
you're
It's
existing.
like,
Like,
today is not the day.
you don't understand. You piss me off by, like, 5 different minute little details 20 minutes ago, and I've been sitting here stewing on it, and you thought everything was fine, but I'm getting angrier and angrier. It
Or make
was
your own stories in your head like Allison instead of being like, "Hey, Peter, like, dude, like, what's up with this?" You're just
yeah,
like, "Nope, I know exactly what this is about because I'm smart."
I'm smart. Speaking of Peter and Alice, I loved that R.F. Kuang gave them such a dynamic backstory. And this, I mean, a lot of romanticises, we got, like, a week. You know what I mean? The
Yeah.
book takes place in a week. They met day 1. They're in love and going to be married and have children day
By day
7.
7. Yeah, oh yeah, it's a lot.
And so the fact that they, like, fell in love, but were never acted upon it, like, they never even kissed, and so we still got to, like, see them, like, admitting their feelings and having that first kiss, and there's tension because they, like, kind of pissed one another off and, like, all of that made it such a good love story. I think she coulda gone a little further. I think
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think
like, we
she
were
could have given us
academic
a little bit
rivals,
more.
but, like, like, they were just rivals, they weren't enemies,
Yes,
and
yeah.
so, it's more so like, "Girl, they have been waiting, like, 4 years or whatever for this moment, like, this is what we're gonna get, Rebecca? Like, come on." There is something so precious about their love for one another
Mhm.
because it was built in the background of their own minds without them even knowing it, because
Yeah.
their first love is their academics,
Yeah,
and so
academia.
I loved getting those flashback scenes because 'cause I'm like, "Oh, yeah, like, they don't like, they're have the same advisor," but, like, I had the same advisor as some other people and, like, whatever. No, like, we see each other's their each perspective of one another, and you're like,
Yeah.
"Damn!" Like, "Okay." I loved it.
Oh, I loved well, kind of just oh, maybe never mind. Maybe never mind. Did I not mark it down? Okay. Anyways, I will just say it without the page number. Later in this book, when we switch to Peter's POV, just for like that one little chapter to get like his backstory,
Yeah.
he had this like beautiful quote of being it was so wonderful just to watch Alice laugh. And, like, that was Alice's thing too, is she was always like, "It's such a gift to make Peter laugh," and, like, that was their, like, crowning achievements. I was just like, "Oh my
Oh my
goodness,
gosh.
they love one
It's
another."
rare for me to love, like, both characters equally,
Mhm.
and so in a certain part of this book, obviously, we don't have Peter, like, at all in it, and I'm like, "Dude."
You felt it.
You felt it. You're like, and I think that's the purpose. That's the
Mhm.
point, obviously, but I'm like, "Dude, I need this man back." Like, I love Peter. And just, like, hearing his backstory and the way Alice
Yes.
thought of him, but what was actually going on, I don't wanna
Mhm.
jump the gun here. Just, like, thinking about these 2 characters and, like, also in real life, people dealing with shit, and we're just like, "Well, this is just who they are." It's like, "No, well, actually, like, they
Yeah.
don't want it to become your problem, but they're actually dealing with something." It's not
Yeah,
always about you.
you never know. You never know what's happening to another person. That doesn't excuse bad behavior,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's crazy. Um, my final little, like, thing that happened is we talked earlier sorry. Ugh, my brain. We talked earlier about how she, like, blended a bunch of different, like, cultural stuff into this. My favorite little interaction was the Weaver girl.
Oh my gosh,
Because
yes.
we're meeting these, like, minor deities, and that felt like the most, like, classically Greek riddle, like, you're stopped in your path
Troll under the
situation.
bridge moment,
Yes, as
literally.
we're, like, crossing between 2 of the different courts of hell, and they're given this decision, and, of course, Alice is just so pissed off about the fact that Peter was going to kill her, and, like, we know as readers that this is a romance. We know as readers that, like, Peter's not actually going to like, I doubted maybe for just, like, half a second because I don't
Yeah,
trust R.F. Kuang, but,
yeah,
like, I was like, "No, I truly believe that, like, he has a good reason for that, okay?" And he's so earnest as a character. Peter's so undeniably earnest. He's like, "Why can't we just pretend we're in love? Like, aren't you secretly in love with me? Like,
yeah,
why
he's
can't"
like, this is not gonna be that hard. Is it that hard for you?"
Yeah,
Is it
because, like, I was just like, I didn't even need to pretend.
Yeah.
And then she's like, "Oh, but what do I do? What do I do? He's gonna kill me. He's gonna kill me." And then, like, in a moment of, like, pure manic overload,
Yeah.
choosing the green apple, choosing to condemn him for eternity.
Because as we do, us mentally ill people, we create narratives in our head and then we spin
Mhm.
them and spin and spin them. Like, well, actually, I don't trust him. I never have trusted him. And I was warned about him. And he's always been this way. And it's like, no, it's not that deep. And I love when the Weaver girl was like, it's always the women. It's
Yeah.
always the women to always pick the green apple. It's never the men.
Yeah, because if a man who would pick the green apple wouldn't be traveling with the woman in the first place. Like, he
Yeah.
would've he would've ditched her, he would've like,
Yeah.
done one over on her forever ago.
Yeah. I love
I
when she was like, it's always the women.
Yeah.
He and the way he, like, looked at her, he was like, "Alice," and she's like, "I made a mistake." It's like,
He's
well,
so puppy coated.
yeah, I love Peter. I love how she was, like, webbing him up. It's like, "It's your mind now," like, and she's like, "No, you're not."
Oh, and this is gonna make such a good movie, guys. Like, I know that we should have saved that for the end, but, like, thinking of, like, these vibrant scenes and settings, like and it's already been picked up and whatever, we'll see because books get picked up all the time,
And then dropped. And
but they
also,
picked a director, which is, like, an extra step
it's gonna have to be
in
well
some kit.
done because,
Yeah.
like, I'm thinking about, like, the faces and rocks and, like, all these different things that are really creepy on paper.
Yeah.
How are we gonna execute that visually? We'll see. Like, what does hell look like? Like, I think it's possible. And, like,
Mhm.
I think people that have made dystopian movies, we should, like,
Yeah.
bring them in into this, like, otherworldly place. Um, but yeah, this like, that Weaver scene, I just imagine, like, in, like, Marvel movies and stuff where there's, like, the bad guy and it's, like, all
Yeah.
epic and stuff, and it's all done on sound stages. Like, I could see that. I think it'd be awesome.
I think it will be so good. We have to talk about the Grimes of it all,
Yes.
who unfortunately his name is Jacob, which is the name of her husband.
Every time they'd say Jacob Grimes, I was like, Jacob Greenbrier. It's too close. Like, it's too close for comfort.
It's too close. Who the main theme of this book that went was totally undisclosed until the book came out. Like, I didn't even get an inkling of hearing about this ahead of time. But the main theme of this book is power dynamics and abuse in
Piece of
those
power.
dynamics. And we
Yeah.
kind of see how it plays out for both Alice and Peter, which I really enjoyed because I think Alice's story, I mean, some of it is like very that's next level, that's insane, and then some of it is like, yeah, yeah, that unfortunately is a reality for, like, a lot of women and, like, really horrible, but so seeing it also happen to, like, Peter as a man get just as infatuated.
With someone. Yeah, and
Yeah,
the
and
the, like Yeah, the idolization, like, to, like, a
Mhm.
godly level of someone, and I was thinking about this
Okay.
as you said that. Rebecca did something similar to this in Yellowface, where she exposes the publishing industry, and
Yeah.
part of us are like, "Girl, are you trying to tell us something? Like, are you trying to tell us, like, a personal experience?" And part of me is like, she is such like, we know Rebecca is an academic, like,
Yeah.
and I just have a feeling that this was written from not necessarily like a personal experience, but understanding the world in which she comes from and kind of dissecting that in
Yes.
every single side, the good, the bad, the ugly, and then putting it in this crazy like fantasy setting. But
Right.
it's still a very real problem in any world, but I can definitely see an academic world because we all want to be the best.
Yeah. And the need for, like, validation and praise. I mean, I still think I had a professor give me a very, very nice compliment once, and I think about it still.
Yeah.
I mean, how many years out have we been graduated? It wasn't and but I'm just like, "Oh my god, remember when that professor, someone that I respected and looked up to and had this, like, position of authority over me, gave me such a nice compliment?" Like, it's crazy how then that can, like, turn, and I felt like the entire book I was waiting for Grimes to turn on Alice in, like, the sexual nature, and it's interesting that that was held back at first to show what is, I mean, a very different crime of Alice's tattoo is the first thing that we
Yeah.
learn, and that Alice's tattoo comes out really early to
Yeah.
be such an extreme thing where he literally experimented on her body that gave her then lasting negative effects and then threw her away when he was done, like,
With her. Yeah,
meddling with it.
and it's interesting to see on both Peter and Alice's end the grooming process in which he goes
Mhm.
through, and people warning them, like, "This is what
Yes.
he's done, that blah, blah, blah," and they're like, "No, no, no, no," and then even like, obviously, she killed him and she's going for revenge or
Mhm.
her paper or whatever, she still defends him even to Peter, and Peter's like, "Look at what you're doing." And she's like,
Yes.
"I know, but like," and on a crazy, horrible kind of way, I get it. Like, I
Mhm.
get it. It's Stockholm
Yeah.
syndrome. Like, I get it. Like, it's something that you can't even through as much rage as you feel, you're still gonna get caught into that cycle because you were
Yeah.
trained, like, you were groomed into that cycle. I mean, she got to the
Mhm.
point where she went to Italy with a random man to experiment on, like, little rodents and then used her as the first, like, experiment. Like,
Yeah.
that's effed up.
Well, and her thought process with it where she was like, I always knew that I was going to be the experiment. Like, I consented to this. I knew it was going to happen, but then it was happening and something felt wrong, and like how he like talked her through it and he like gave her praises for it. Like, it is so hard hitting, and I think it dispels some of these like excuses that we give to especially men who do things like this, who do even their like sexual, like the sexual assault scene where she was like, I kind of thought that it was coming to this. I like to wear like sluttier clothes. Like, I like toying with this line because you feel like you're in control
But you're not.
up until the moment that it's revealed that you're so not. And the thing is that Jacob, eh, Professor Grimes,
Yeah.
he always knew what he was doing. He always knew what he was doing, and it was so malicious at every stage. Yeah, it's insane. I have a quote to share, that I think really just, like, summarized, this the grooming ideology and the fact that she felt that she was indebted to him the entire time up until, like, at this point, she's already murdered the man, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
She's already killed him because she was so rageful about what happened to her. And still, she's defending him and she says, his was the first plank in her staircase of belief. And in a world founded on insincerity and insecurity, that faith was a debt she would always feel she had to repay. And she did. up until the end, she like, it took seeing him as pathetic in her own eyes to finally be like, and even
Let
at the
go.
end, she's like, "Yeah, I'll admit that you might have made me, but you need to have some, like, appreciation for your creations. You need to like, you should" I think there was a line, it was like, "You should be nicer to your creations." Crazy.
We're gonna get to that final scene, but that ending, like, oh my god, it's fucking good. Okay, so yes, the truth about him comes out. Honestly,
Mhm.
wasn't that surprised, but seeing the
No.
extent that it went to, I was like, that's
And
messed
really
up.
emphasizing with these characters. You know what I mean? Like, really, like, getting in their heads and being like, "No, I know, I see the path that you took, I get it."
And pitting them against each other, which is crazy
Mhm.
to see them working together. Um, it's great. What about the chapter when Peter's like, "No, I killed him, Alice."
And then that felt so, like, I don't know, like, movie Scooby Doo, where he's like, "No, I killed him, Alice," and then we switch to his perspective, and we get, like, his whole backstory. I was like, "Alright, are we in a play?" Like, this is so and it was needed to, like, show all of that. But it's interesting because he was like, "Yep, I" he's like, "Negligence of leaving it out." And then
Yeah,
she saw it, and she purposely, like, didn't
say anything, yeah.
didn't do
So
anything.
they're, like, equally as guilty. It's like, "Well, we're
Yeah,
in this together," like,
teamwork.
teamwork without even knowing. Um, yeah,
That is crazy. I loved her plan because Peter, who is a much, like, at the root of it, softer soul,
yeah,
his plan was to sacrifice himself for Grimes because he felt so guilt like, he really is suffering more of, like, a guilt of, like, "I hate you, but, like, I shouldn't have done what I did, so
yeah,
I will trade my life for yours," and, like, that was Peter's plan, and then Alice is like, "So, my plan was to reanimate him into his body, but only under my control as my little puppet, screaming in pain, torturous, ancient, witchy method. And I was just going to try to present it to the board, this like mangles of organs that I like dug up." And he
yeah.
was just like, and he didn't judge her. He was just like,
No,
"Yeah,
it's like
that's a
I was just
plan."
like, "Yes, we have a Doctor Frankenstein on our hands." I was like, "This is amazing." And I love at the end, which
Mhm.
I don't know, when she stands up to him, she's like, "You wanna know what I was gonna do to you?" And
Yes.
he, like she, like she, like, patronizes him, and he's just like he's like, "Well, you're not gonna do that, right?"
He's like, I'd rather you just leave me. I'd
He's like,
rather
"You
you
know
just
what?"
leave me in hell."
She's like, "You know what I," and and that's when you're like, "Wow, I made, like, this bitch is crazy." It's like, "No, you made her crazy. You made
Mhm.
her."
Yeah, that was he was like, "Okay, you know what? I'm done." He's like, "And I'll stop trying here, actually."
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so obviously the plot of the book is to just experience the journey through hell because the given mission statement of bringing Professor Grimes back, we very quickly realize we don't want. Like, we don't want him to come back. We don't want them to succeed in this. And a lot of the book is like the process of them understanding and being like, "Yeah, I don't want this either. I just felt like I needed to do this." So like that's like the character arc. But for a more action-packed story, we brought in the
The crypt
pre
keys.
yeah, I was gonna say, I don't know how to
I
pronounce
listened to
it.
some of the book, so I know some of the
Okay.
crypt keys, yes. What a crazy group. This to me is like the pirates of hell.
Yes, and it
Like,
felt so reminiscent of, like, wonky evil literature. You know what I mean? Like, did you ever read this short story about the woman with the ribbon around her neck?
oh, yes.
Yes. So it felt so reminiscent of that where we have, like RF Kuang's just kind of playing with like what would be like the most interesting, weird, fucking villain situation of these like magicians who really lent into the fanfare of it all. very accomplished, snubbed in real life because the academics did not, give them credit or for their accomplishments.
Yeah.
Then they publicly killed themselves on stage as like a, and now for our next act, we will return from hell. And then on stage, like that's so wild. Like the drama of it all, the fanfare of it all. I was like eating it up. I was like, damn, this is crazy.
Yeah, they're like they gave a bad name to magicians, which is hilarious because I feel like in the world, like, magician world, like, there's, like, the good magicians, and there are,
Yeah.
like, the ba like, I think, like, Las Vegas, like, really skeevy,
Yeah.
like, trying to take your money people. And that's how I see the Crypt Keys. But yeah,
Mhm.
I don't like, I never really watched Mad Max, but I imagine them as, like, this, like, desert riding, like, group of people that, like, honestly, everyone in hell are just like, "We fucking hate them." Like,
Yeah.
they're the bane of our hell
Mhm.
existence. Like, no one likes them.
And
Like,
they're
they're not
literally like
supposed to be here.
they're torturing people. They're like killing the other shades and stuff like that. Like, damn, that's like evil scientists to the furthest degree.
Yeah, but what a cool, like, image and, like, obviously, like, they're not the bad guys, like, Professor Grimes is the bad guy, but then we
Yeah.
have this other, like, "Hey, you're not helping." Like, we're
Yeah.
trying to do something, like, "You're not helping," and, like, all of a sudden the bone people are back and, like, the animals and stuff, and you're like,
Mhm.
"Come
And then
on."
it became a like, okay, well, we came here for Grimes, but we don't really want to deal with him anymore. But we can solve this issue because we're in a lot of trouble here.
Yeah.
And like, so I liked that in doing so, we still got like an epic fantasy battle at the end. Whereas, like, we were never gonna have a battle with Grimes. You know what I mean? Like, it was
No, because
always
he's
gonna
weak
be like
and he's stupid.
verbal.
Yeah, and
Yes.
I think what the Crypt Keys to me were just, like, once again, like, these, like, hell pirates that are really
Mhm.
annoying, but, like, we can keep
Yeah.
them at bay or whatever. So, the fact that they were the reason why Peter died
Yeah.
makes you, like, infuriated. So then once we
Mhm.
get, as I said before, the deeper Alice descends into hell, the like, honestly, more, like, manic and mad she goes, which same.
Yes. And
And
it
I think
matches,
that's
like,
the
the
point.
architecture of, like, losing the buildings and descending into, like, literal madness.
Madness. Exactly. And so I also felt myself getting, like, not, like, mad, but, like, crazy mad. I was like, "Oh my god,"
Yes.
like, and so when when she gets to have that crazy thing, like, and she's, like, out of water and, like,
Mhm.
dude, my skin was crawling of her, just, like, the image of her just, like, walking through the desert. I don't wanna jump too far ahead, but as far as, like, the Crypt Keys are concerned, this is, like,
Yes.
I was mad about the Peter thing, so I'm like, Yes." I was like,
Mhm.
"Yes, I hate these people."
Well, and it was so when Peter sacrificed himself in the trap,
Yeah.
I actually had it spoiled for me that this book had a happy ending.
Ah,
And so I was like, "Well, but but it's supposed to be a romantasy and they haven't even kissed yet." And I like as Alice was running away and Peter was being brutally murdered, I just convinced myself that that's not what happened. Like I went mad in the story and I was like, "No, it couldn't possibly. He couldn't possibly be dying right now." Like obviously like they're just like blood bagging him. They're not actually going to murder him. No, he died. He died in that moment and I did not believe it. I did not believe it up until the battle was over with the creepy case and like she still hadn't found she like gets on Elsbeth's boat and like she's like, "Yeah,
nothing.
Peter's dead," and she starts crying and I'm like, "No, I had it spoiled for me that this book had a happy ending." But at that point, so much of the story had happened that I'm like,
This is too far. We're too far
He's
gone to
he's
bring him
dead,
back,
he's
right?
gone, like, I
I
lost
thought
hope
I thought
in
he was
getting
gonna be
to know
back at
that.
Elsbeth's house.
Yes.
I thought he was gonna be back there. So, obviously, we heard him get brutally murdered, and then the Crypt Keys
Mhm.
had the blood, and she's like, "That's
Yeah.
Peter's blood," and I was like, "If you know that, like, that's crazy." And then I didn't know if that was just, like, her, like, metaphorically saying, like, "That,"
Yeah.
but, like, no, she's like, "That's Peter's blood," and I was like,
Yeah.
"Oh my god, that's crazy." But when Elsbeth rescues her or whatever, I was like, "Oh, she's dead. He's gonna be there," but instead, Elsbeth was just, like, upset with her. I was like, it was not spoiled for me that this was gonna be happy endings. I just, like, did not know what was gonna happen, and because it's R.F. Kuang, I'm like, Listen,
Yeah.
I wouldn't put it past her to not bring him back.
Me at all. Well, 'cause
In
she
my heart of
also
hearts, I knew,
yeah.
but I was like, but, like, I was preparing myself emotionally to be wrecked.
Yes, literally. And I was like, "Oh, I did not properly grieve Peter when Alice was running away because I was so convinced he was gonna come back," and, like, he does, but I was just nailed into that. Let's keep talking about the creepies, because the part of the book that I did not read, I skipped 2 whole pages.
I was reading this, I was like, "I don't think Aubrey's gonna like this because I don't like this."
Is after we leave the Citadel, and we'll talk about the stuff that
Yeah,
happens in the
it's
Citadel
important.
after,
Yeah.
but she stumbles into another one of their traps, and she gets stuck in there with this, like, cat mangled lion thing.
Yeah.
Guys, that was so, so disgusting. I read every page of the Poppy War that probably has considerably, like, worse gruesomeness, but the gruesomeness of this cat, I wanna vomit just talking about it. Because at first I was like, "Okay," like, as the cat was dying, we were, like, really, like, setting in on that, and I had to, like, start skimming it, but then for her to also, like, butcher it,
Yeah.
no, I skipped all of those pages. I didn't read the rest of that chapter. I was like, "I can't." I read, like, the last 2 sentences of that chapter when, like, John Gradis shows
Yeah.
up at the campfire, and then she, like, starts offering him food, and I'm like, "No.
Yeah,
No,
it
no." It
is
was
it
so
is
bad.
I've seen, like, survival movies where someone gets trapped outside or on a boat or something, and they have to do this, like, very animalistic,
Yeah.
primitive thing, and to see such an academic, well-groomed girl have to descend into, like, such
Madness,
craziness,
yeah.
madness to do that, obviously, I think it was very well placed. I think
Mhm.
the idea, because she talked a lot about, like, animals randomly who are hurt will end up here.
Yeah.
This animal was so hurt, it wasn't gonna survive anyways, but there was this moment where, like, Alice was obviously loony to a certain extent, lacking water, lacking food.
Mhm.
This animal obviously is a predator that would easily consume her, right? But there's this sort of, like, understanding that happens in that trap
Yeah.
where the cat succumbs because it knows for the greater good of Alice, like, this is what needs to happen, and there is something like, I'm a animal lover, like, through and through, and I love cats of all kinds, and so for me, I'm like, "Listen, you can eat this bitch, I don't care, but don't let it die." Like, I didn't want the dying part to happen, but the way
Yeah.
that it happened, it wasn't necessarily at Alice's hand. Alice just
No.
used the opportunity to then, like, "Well, it's already dead."
Yeah, the
But
trap chose to kill the cat and not Alice first, and then she, Native American used all of the body.
I just think 1, I don't like it, first of all. I was like,
I
"This is
didn't need to
not
read
right."
it.
Yeah, you shouldn't. Because I did. I was like, "Ugh." But it shows, like, that character arc of, like, "Whoa."
Yeah.
Chapter 1, I did not imagine us getting to this part of this book, and I really think that was, like, the climax of her character's, like, downfall in a
Mhm.
way of, like, ego, maybe? Like,
Yeah, it felt very like Lord of the Flies, where, like, we have reached the point of ultimate madness.
yes, that's exactly how I felt, and I just knew John was gonna, like, I was like, "I know. I just know." But anyways, yeah, the crypt keys are crazy.
So then we, like, jump into this, like, final battle, and she's, like, set her stage of, like, pentagrams and her hill and her
I love this.
plan.
Yeah,
This
she's like,
is
"I'm gonna
like
kill them. I'm gonna
this
kill the crypt keys."
yes, and she's, like, so like, she's not thinking, and then John's like, "Snort the chalk." And she, like, snorts the chalk and gets, like, godly,
Like, powers, yeah.
affinity powers,
Ugh.
ability to, like, be faster and think smarter and, like, this is, like, such, like, a mental trip. We are so engrossed and immersed
I thought I
into
was high reading this. Also, it was
literally,
2 AM, but I was
literally
like, I I told Robert that day, I was like, "I don't know what happened last night. Like, I feel like I was on, like, drugs."
Yeah, like, you know, they actually talk about it in the book, the frog
Yeah.
metaphor where it's like the water gets hotter and hotter to the point that the frog doesn't realize he's being boiled.
Yep.
That I was being boiled.
I
I
was
was the
boiled.
frog being slowly led into, like, okay, things are getting a little weird. Like, when we were at Pride, I was very disappointed almost because I was like, this is a rigid building. These are academics. Like, this doesn't seem like a
Hell.
hellfire punishment placed upon the people of Pride. But the way we just slowly it increased our level of madness to this final battle where I'm like, I'm in it with her. You know what I mean? Like, I'm ravaged and and right there. And her using her grime spell and us getting to see what that looked like. And it's like them half in hell and half in there. And it was gross in a wonderful way.
Yeah, that was trippy. I was like, "We're in the real world. Now we're not in the real world." And then, with the Levy, like, him going Levy, and you just see him just deteriorating.
Yeah.
And then, I was kinda upset because I love kids. The mom and
Mhm.
the son, like, sacrificing themselves because it's like, "Well,
Yeah.
oh, that's what we do. We die together."
They're just
And
like,
Alice
"There's
is
no
even
point."
like, "No, stop. Like, stop. Like, don't do that." And I just think it was so tragic, but, like, also, like, so cool.
Yeah. Yeah, it was, like, exactly what the story needed. It was
Yeah.
like, "Mm." Well, and
Yes.
even the fact that the Creepcase, murdered their child before going on
Yeah,
stage.
that's the
Like
thing, like, that made it all, like, justified of, like yeah,
like,
I
that was no longer a kid. I felt it almost like a wild cub.
yes, because I think Alice was even trying to reason with it, and it was just
Yeah.
like
He was
like,
like,
"Okay, you are not a child.
"The murder baby."
You're the murder baby." Alright, so
Yeah.
let's back it up
Yes.
a little bit because we mentioned John Gradis.
Mhm.
Love,
Who was
love.
he supposed to be? Do we know?
No, he's supposed to be, in my head, this, like, spirit guide who is very ancient, and honestly,
Yes.
Alice obviously is the reason why he was able to cross the levee to,
Uh-huh.
like, the promised land or whatever.
Yes.
Um, I really feel like he is a spirit guide because she asks him a lot of times, like, "Who are you?" Blah, blah, blah. I
Mhm.
don't think we're supposed to know. I think it's supposed to be this just act this miracle because they talk about, like, we need a miracle, and he ends
Yeah.
up being her miracle that
Mhm.
saves her life, and so I really think and I love the use of this character, and I actually love that we don't know. Like like,
Yeah.
is this like an Aristotle? Like, this guy's been around
Uh-huh.
for centuries, so it's like,
Well,
who is this?
and when he drank the potion or whatever, and so he then his memories, like, she saw just flashes of them, like, he did violent shit in his past. Like, that's all that was kind of, like, on the page. But, like, yeah, just showing that it was so interesting and, like, the way he was hungry for knowledge of what happened in, like, the real world, and he was, like, so disappointed in her for, like, kind of wasting away her life, and she was like, "Well, there's a balance to this." She's like, "Of course I didn't eat 3-course meals every day," but, like, he kind of got her to the path because the whole Citadel and John Gradis are accumulating to the end of her, like, suicide arc, right?
Yeah.
Like, she kind of is forced to reckon with this, and, like, they have the thing of, like, what is the question? What is the purpose? What is the meaning to continue? And it was so well done and, like, the most, like, RF Kwong coded way.
Oh my gosh, and just the idea of this, like, bazaar and her walking through and people working on their dissertations, and they're like,
Yes.
"I'll help you write your paper, I'll help you write your paper," and it's just, like, all this madness, and then within this madness, getting groomed to go to this, like, quiet, like,
Oh,
place.
the Rebel Citadel, that was where the trip began.
No,
If you
that's where it
remember.
began. She,
Yeah.
like we drank the juice there. Because, like, this, like, Wizard of Ozzy, like,
Yeah.
forest of, like, these trees and this, like, door honestly, it felt, like Alice in Wonderland, which he
Yes.
mentioned Lewis Carroll she mentioned Lewis Carroll a lot, but, like,
Mhm.
it was just, like, yeah, like, I felt like Alice, literally, we're all mad here, like, there has to be
Yes.
an overlay somewhere there, right? Like, there has to be.
Uh-huh.
And seeing, like, she's like, "Well, what's the point of the boat?" And this guy gets out of the bush and just, like, cut like, offs himself off the
Mhm.
cliff, and she's even thinking it, and John Grace was even like, "You don't know how many times I've stood on that cliff like, contemplating if it was worth it or not."
Yeah, yeah. It's insane, and that kinda, like, triggered the run sequence where she's, like, sprinting away. It was
And then
so
she had her Harry Potter moment.
it was so
Ran to the wall.
just yes. It was so, like, vivid
Yeah.
and, like, weird and fantastical and metaphorical. Like, it literally it felt like her big one. Like, you know what I mean? It felt like why the book was constructed to get this, like,
Moment.
insane moment. And I
Yeah.
have here, as she's running away, she says, "I have been a good person sometimes and a bad person at others. Sooner or later, I will die. But before I do, I will try. I will try very hard to make it count." And that was kind of like the accumulation of her being like,
No, I'm gonna survive.
I got to do it for Peter.
Yeah, Peter
Um,
died for me. I need to do the dang thing. Yeah. And I loved also, like, we that's where we get the back story a little bit of John, where he's like, "No, I'm not going there." Like, she's like, "I haven't seen you in a while, John Greatest." He's like, "Yeah, there's a reason." Because John came to that conclusion of like, "No, there's more to this
mhm.
life and I'm gonna figure it out." And so yeah, he really is just like Alice's spirit guide at the end. And I love his character. At first, he
Yeah.
annoyed me. I was like, "Oh my god, I can't stand you." But then I was like, "Wait, no, I love you." And like seeing that moment that he just steps on, like, he has his Jesus moment, he like steps on the water and floats and then goes to the boat. And Alice is just like, "Damn, like, it's possible." Like, he just did it. Everyone in there
Mhm.
said they've never seen it, but I just saw it. Like,
Yeah, and
crazy.
it started our little bit of, like, happy ending to occur because,
Yeah.
like, so much of the book is, like, weird and dealing with very heavy themes, and you're just, like you're really sunken into it, and this part as I actually started thinking about Hozier's album, Unearth Unreal, which is his newest one,
Isn't
which,
that
if you
perfect?
didn't know, is also inspired by Dante's
That is
Inferno, and
Inferno.
each song is about, like, diving further and further down. And then the last song is called First Light. And it is about like the beginning of the ascent of like we've gone all the way down and now we're gonna go back up. And like I just kept thinking about that song as John is like stepping onto this boat and like going away. And it like the playful tease of the whatever ferryman like character to be
Yeah.
like, no, Alice, you can't join. Like you have to come here, you have to do it your way.
Yep.
And it was just it
And it
was
was so
so
bright she
good.
couldn't see it, and
Yeah,
it's
she's
still
like,
a
"Ah,
mystery. It's like,
heaven."
"Alright, yes, yes, this is this is good." That's what makes it think. Honestly, like, the last bit of this book, I'm like, "How can this not be 5 stars?" Because
Yes.
just the we talk about this all the time on this podcast, is the planning and the plotting and just everything that goes into it. Like, this is a master class on how to plot a book. And no, not everything's gonna make sense, but maybe that's the point. And so I wanted let's jump into this ending here,
Yes.
where we're ending, how crazy it was. The first thing I want to say
Mhm.
is, well, I don't know if we want to talk about her falling into the water, because that's where John saves her. So this part confused me a little bit. Maybe you can help me.
Okay.
Alice lost some of her memories
Memories,
in the
yes.
process. And
Mhm.
during it, she was like trying to remember, like, okay, Peter died. This is who I am, blah, blah, blah. And the whole book, she had this like immunity to the levy. And so I like to see the like deconstruction of like
Mhm.
her actually being affected by it for once.
Yes. So I think she got so submerged into the water that it started deteriorating her
That
tattoo.
too.
It
Yeah.
eroded the tattoo, and then once the tattoo was eroded, that's when it
Her
started
memories.
picking at her memories. But, like, she didn't fall in as deep and she had the tattoo to protect her to get far enough out that she didn't lose everything. But I do have it saved here. The quote of her being like, "Give me Peter, let me be a monument to Peter if I am otherwise an empty shell on this desert, a broken record that plays one memory, that will be all right." She's
Oh,
like,
like,
"Just
giving
let me
uh,
remember
'cause
Peter."
obviously, we didn't mention this, she can remember everything, which is horrible because
Yes,
who don't remember
that's the
everything?
tattoo.
Yeah, she can remember everything, obviously. But the fact that she's like, "Take all of my knowledge, take all of my
Yeah.
equations, take all
Everything
of it
I worked
away.
for.
I just wanna remember Peter." I was like, she
Romance.
giving up her one true love, which is her knowledge and academics for her academic rival, dead. Alright, how do we feel about well, first of all, I love Elsbeth. Like, if I was casted in this movie, I would want to play her.
Yeah, she is so, like, boat girl, like, I know I can see it for you. You
I
will have
just
to kill yourself first, but, like
Yes, I just love, like, she's not a great person, but she's a good
Mhm.
person, and
Yes.
I love, like, they're reuniting and, like, they're coming to terms, and she's like, "No, like, it's okay, Alice." I was like, "No, I'm sorry," and
Yes.
it's like, "No, like, he
Women.
sucks," and it's like yeah, like, women for real.
And they bonded over being like, "Yeah, we both kind of were just his victims," and, like, ugh, it's so sad, and then she gives her the true, uh, con
Contra
contradiction
Yeah.
to let
That
her
I
go
didn't
out.
even know this thing existed until she's like, "I have this." I'm like, "What the fuck's that?"
Well, because that's what they were trying to steal from her, but I don't know why, I didn't think it was gonna be a plant, though. I thought it was going to be like a theory, like a new paradox or something like that.
Did you imagine
But
it as like a plant?
well, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's like this colorful leafy plant.
that she found growing, and so that's the contradiction, is that something grew, there was
Correct. And
grew in hell.
I agree. I thought they were gonna uncover this equation that's never
Yeah.
been
But that makes more sense because, like, how is RF Kuang gonna come up with a true contradiction? Like, she wasn't.
Yeah, like,
She
what's that
she
gonna
need
be?
she needed just a plant that grew in hell.
Yeah. And so, yeah, she gives it to her, and she's like, "I'll find another one." And so I think Elsbeth's gonna have her John Greatest moment where, like, she helps, like, there's gonna be this, like
Yes. Yeah, because she's like, "I'm ready to like, start moving on and, like, just enter my new phase." And I wouldn't be surprised if it happens very quickly after Alice left. You know what I
yeah.
mean? Like, we didn't see it happen because, like, we didn't need 2 come to Jesus moments, but, like
As long as Archimedes gets to go with her, I don't care because
oh my
that
god, I
cat
loved him.
that cat,
Star of the show.
I was like, "If anything happens to this cat"
Oh my god,
I was
when we
like,
see
hurt.
meet him the second time because he's hurt because of the bone creatures, I was like, "Fuck him up. Fuck
I
him up."
was like, he's, like, curling around Alice. Alice is like I love that this cat just, like, randomly showed up, like, wherever too, like, oh
Yes.
my gosh. I was
That
like
was so Alice in Wonderland.
I know, I was like, "Protect this cat at all costs." Peter and Alice can die, I do not care, but this cat better survive.
And the fact that he was loyal to Elspeth and not to them, he was like, "I am throwing you under the bus right
Yeah.
now."
I love him. I think that's gonna be so fun in a movie to see. Yeah,
Yes.
we're gonna have, like, Archimedes merch, like,
Yes,
cannot
honestly,
wait.
I would love it on a sweatshirt.
Yes, cannot wait, I'm very excited. So she gets to go and meet this is the part that I love the cultural
Mhm.
and R.F. Kuang did a great way of explaining this in the book, that,
Yes.
like, the devil will show up to you in a way that you know him most, and I
Mhm.
love how she described Lord Yama of, like, he's this very stoic looking
Mhm.
person, but he actually values, like, truth and, like,
Yeah.
loyalty over anything
Mhm.
else. So even though we're getting this very, like, honestly, like, sinister looking thing, he actually in turn values, like, heroism and, like, the truth and what's right, which is
Yeah.
interesting coming from, like, a Satan
Yeah,
character.
a Hades-like character. And even the fact that she was just like, "Well, Lord Yama is who, like, my parents prayed to." For, like, when I was passing my entrance exams, like, Lord Yama is someone that I have seen through them because Alice is, Chinese American, and she, like, very is rooted in her American ideology, and then the fact that he started speaking Chinese to her. And then, like, obviously, when Professor Grimes showed up, they switched to English, but, like, yeah, that was, like
It's like,
it was a very, like, comforting deity to meet at the end of the road.
Yeah, it wasn't this scary thing, like, it
Mhm.
was something like she has this moment too where I think she was a little frightened, and then she's like, "Wait, like, this is who I've prayed to my whole life, like,
Yeah.
this is, like, her god in a way," and
Mhm.
so it was weird to, like, have that cultural shift of, like, in times we don't just praise one being, we have different gods and
Yeah, and that's also when they brought up heaven, and I thought in this version of
hell just is
yeah, that
the
it's just
afterlife.
hell. Everyone goes to hell, you know? And so that was an interesting blend of, like, Christianity mythologies, which obviously is what we as Americans are gonna know
The
more of, white
most, yeah.
Americans. And yeah, it was such a cool scene, and the fact that he was like, "Oh, well, free of charge, I'll let you talk to Jacob," which I loved because at that point, Alice had come to her own character decision. She's like, "It's not about him. I do not want to rescue him. I do not like. I don't want anything to do with him. I just want out. I just want to live."
Yeah.
And but, like, as readers, we're like, "Yeah, but, like, you know, the whole promise of the story was that we'd get to see Professor Grimes, and we kinda want you to, like, you know, fuck him up a little."
Yeah.
And so Lord Yama was just like, "Yeah, I'll let you talk to him." And then to watch the impotence of this man, for him to immediately, like, stretch out his shade for him to be as tall as the fucking god deity in front of him,
Yeah.
and to, like, question him, and, like, he literally brushes off Alice. He is there for Alice, and he brushes her off at first, and he, like, talks to Lord Yama first, and then Lord Yama's like, "You're here because of, like, her."
Her. Like,
And then he's
he's just
finally
sitting
like,
there, like,
"Oh, I fucked
wheeling
with
his
your
thing.
dreams to get you to come do this, da 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 da." Ugh.
And Grimes is like, "I've been there every step of the way, plotting and whatever," and
Ew.
you're just like, "This is disgusting. Like, this is so
Yes.
gross." And even Lord Yama's like, "Who the fuck is this guy? Like, what the hell?" He's, like, doing his little
Mhm.
weaving, like, spinning thing that he does,
Yeah.
and he's like, "What the fuck is up with, like, Alice? Who the fuck?" And then Alice is like, "That's it. Like, blah, 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 blah." And then she, like, verbally, she's like, "You know what I was gonna do to you? I was gonna reanimate you, and you were gonna bend to my will." And you just see him, like, slowly be like, "What the fuck? What did I create?"
And then she uses Peter's spell to swap Peter and Grimes to bring him back. I don't understand the magic of this. Alice didn't understand the magic of this because the thing is that Peter's spell was built to swap someone who was alive
Alive with
with
someone
someone who
dead.
had died. But then she used it to swap someone who had died with someone who was erased in existence, because we were told that if you're alive but you die in hell, you don't become a shade, you don't die, you nothing. You get nothing. And so it was kind of like it was supposed to do this and she made it do this.
Yeah. I'm
Um
sure there's gonna be some person in the comments be like, "Well, actually, blah, 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 blah."
actually,
And you can explain it to us down there. But I I think in my because I just this that person, I'm like, "Well, Lord Yama just heard her out and just made sure that the spell went her way." Like,
yes.
like, it was like a
Yeah.
genie. It was like, "Listen, I'm gonna give you one free wish, and then the other one you got, girl." And then he comes back, and then Grimes is
Mhm.
like, "Okay, see you later." What a cool, image of them walking up that spiral staircase
Yes.
all the way up to the real world,
Mhm.
and she's looking back and, like, everything's fading, and she just
Yes.
sees, like, all of the shades are just, like, ants, and, like, oh my gosh, it's literally, like, it reminded me of, like, the cover where
Yeah.
I'm just like, "Oh my gosh." Like,
Such an atmospheric book.
what a cool fucking, like, yeah, image.
Oh, and I love that Lord Yama was just, like, kind of like a queen for drama, and she was like, "Well, was I interesting?" And he's like, "Yes." And then, like, Peter and Alice kiss right in front of him,
Yeah,
and
it's
he's
like,
just like, "Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah." And then he's like, "Yeah, you can go up the stairs, but you can't look back," like a Eurydice
Oh,
situation.
yeah, and Orpheus.
And
She's like, "Really?"
she's like, "Really?" And he's like, "Nah, I'm just fucking
Nah,
with
to
you."
get like, I as someone who, like, loves that story, I was like,
Yes.
"No, this like, the book's
No,
almost over."
we're
Like,
doomed.
my Kindle said 98%. I was like, "There's no way there's more exposition." And then he's like, "Nah, just kidding." I was like, "That is so fucking funny because if you
Yes.
know, like, mythology, like,
Mhm.
you'd be like and they referenced that before, like, getting out of
Mhm.
hell is really hard, but, like, actually, other than
Oh.
Elspeth sacrificing the
Mhm.
contradiction, which is hard to find, he was like, "Yeah, just take the steps." Like
Yeah, just you're good. You're good to go. But I believe that Alice was alive, but I think while it was not perfectly described, in my mind, Peter died and was coming back to life. Like Peter was almost like a shade in the way that in the Eurydice story, like she would have been going to be brought back to life. Like, that's how I pictured it, is that, like, the staircase opened, Alice got to go out because she never died, but Peter is the one, like, truly using this true contradiction, this trade, this life, because he did die.
True.
Oh, and Alice is like, "And we get our lifespans back."
Yeah, he's
She's
like,
like,
"No, you get
"And?"
half of your lifespans back." Yeah.
And she's like, "I'm ready to argue more, like, I'm riding this high," and Peter's like, "Actually, that's fine, yeah, we'll take that."
Yeah, she's like,
He's
"And
like,
you'll give
"Sounds
us our
good."
lifespans back," and he's like, "Well, actually, what about half of the lifespans?" And she's like, "Got it. Okay, cool."
Got it, got it. Good, good, good. This book was wonderful, and you can tell that we really enjoyed it and that there's a lot of nuance and substance here because of the length of this episode.
Yes.
That we had a lot to say. I hope you guys enjoyed this book as much as we did
Yes,
because
this is so good. This was, like, the most anticipated read of the year. I mean, hell, it was on Aubrey's, like, vision board.
yes.
Guys, yes, it's a long episode, but this is such a complex book. I knew this was gonna be the case, so hopefully you spaced this out or you just were cleaning and listening to us ramble. Yes, so thank you so much for tuning in. Please like, subscribe. If you've read any R.F. Kuang book, like, where does this rank on your list? They are
Yeah.
all a little bit different, but have you ever read another R.F. Kuang book, and what would you like us to review next?
All right, y'all. Thank you so much for joining us and happy reading.